Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar on StoryMaps. Today you'll learn about StoryMaps, what they are, how you can use them in K-12 education, and what resources are available to get you started with creating your very first one. So just to start off here, I have the number up, and if you can please mute your phone. If you can't hear me, please use the WebEx chat window to let me know, and questions can be asked at the end of the webinar. Hi, my name is Angela Alexander, and I work at Esri Canada in the Education and Research Group. My focus is supporting K-12 educators across the country in their use of GIS. I'm responsible for resource development, GIS training, and technical support. So before we delve into StoryMaps, let's start from the beginning with what is ArcGIS Online. So ArcGIS Online is a web-based mapping software that's used to make maps, analyze data, and to share and collaborate with others. It can be used to inquire and explore topics and issues, and to present findings in an interactive way. It can be used across curriculum, including different grade and learning levels. All Nova Scotia educators and students can sign into their GNS TES account to access ArcGIS Online by clicking on the ArcGIS icon. So what are StoryMaps? So StoryMaps is an interactive way to present information about a topic. They can include text, images, videos, web maps, web applications, and web links. There are many StoryMap templates, and you can explore them to see which one will be appropriate for the topic you are presenting. So let's have a look at some examples. Okay, so I am right now in the subscription that you guys have access to, and I'm on the home page. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to my group. I created a group to highlight some of the story maps that you have access to, and it is this one here. And I've shared this with everyone, so you can search for story maps, and here's some of the tags I put in here. Story maps, Arc Canada, so you can put in those two things, or story maps Nova Scotia, and you would be able to find this group. So in this group, there are story maps that highlight topics in history, geography, economics, and there are some different templates that are used. So that will give you an example of, the map viewer, the map journal. So we'll go to the first one here, Canada's Atlantic Ocean and Fisheries. So this is a specific story map that we created as an activity for teachers and students across Canada, looking at the fisheries in the Atlantic region of Canada. So this particular template is a map journal story map. So in the story map, as I mentioned, you can include images. There's an interactive map. So these are web maps that you can create before you create your story map to highlight areas, in this case, of where the fisheries are located. You can also include, of course, text. And in this example here, there are inquiry questions related to the topic. We also have videos that you can embed in your story map. And then the last slide includes all the resources that we used to create this story map. The next example is a tabbed story map, and this one shows the wetlands of Nova Scotia. And each tab has a different focus. So the first one shows all the site locations of these wetlands in the province, and there's some information. You can also click on features on the interactive web map You can zoom in and out. You can click on features to find out additional information. In this case, it's about this particular wetland. The next tab highlights one particular marsh. And we can just continue looking at the different tabs here. So this is a tab story map. The next one is a cascade type story map. And this one allows you to scroll down, just like in a website. This one is looking at how humans use the Earth's landscape. And this was created by the StoryMaps team in the U.S. And the topic here is a global topic. And at the top here, you can see there are different tabs allowing you to see different topics about the living land. They've added some really cool multimedia here. So I'm just going to go back to the group here. So if you sign into your subscription, you can search for groups under StoryMaps and Arc Canada, and you will find this group that I've put together showing some story maps that are specific to Nova Scotia, some are specific to Halifax, and others are global. So no matter how you're planning to use story maps in your teaching or for a project, this workflow is recommended. So the first thing is to create an outline of your story. So define the purpose of your story map. Are you creating this to highlight your students' work? Is your student using a story map to present findings of a project, or something that they're interested in, like a specific topic or a location that they'd like to go visit? So creating that outline is very important. This is where you can collect all the information. So doing the research about the topic, collecting all the web links, all the images, and putting together the text for the story map. The second step is creating your web map. So that's in ArcGIS Online, or maybe there's a web map that you have seen that you would like to include in your story map. You can do that as well. So not just creating your own, but maybe accessing web maps that you've seen that interest you. Also with this step is you can include other story maps or applications that you would find applicable to your story map, because you can actually include that in your story map. So really looking at the interactive map that you want included in your story map. The third and last step is configuring your story map. So once you've figured out what you want to highlight your story map on, you've put together the text, you've collected the images and the website, you have completed your web map, now you're ready to put the pieces together. So this is the third step, and that's configuring your story map. So adding the elements to your story. So that includes the text, the images, the web maps, the videos, the web links, and possibly other story maps or web applications. So there's some tips to get started. And this is a blog that was written back in 2015 around Christmas. And that's why it's called the 12 Days of Story Map Tips. So it just goes through 12 tips on how to make a good story map. And, starting with the engaging title, giving credit where it's you. As you saw in my first example, the resources were included at the end of the story map. So all the links that were used were included there. Of course, the base map. So for those who attended the ArcGIS Online webinar about creating your first web map, we talked about base maps and how there are 10 to select from in ArcGIS Online. And depending on what you're mapping, you want to consider, changing it from the default topographic base map to something else. And some other tips as well in here. Okay, so you can also access the StoryMaps site from ArcGIS Online. So some people so that workflow that I showed you, that is the one that we recommend to teachers and students for K-12 education. We think that's the best way to go about creating a story map in terms of the order. But for some people, they want to go straight to going to the StoryMaps site and doing it from there and then creating their web map from there. And you could do that by accessing the StoryMaps site from ArcGIS Online. So I can show you. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the top here, and I can see that the app launcher is here, and we can click on StoryMaps, and this will open up the StoryMaps website. But because you're logged in, it goes to your specific story. So once you log in, you might not have anything here, so it will look different. But from here, you can click on Create Story, and this is where you will see your 7 different templates that you have access to. And you can just select the one that you want to use. So if you go to the Map Journal, it will launch the Map Journal wizard, and it will take you step by step on how to create your story map. From here, you can also, if you have a list of stories here, you can also check your stories, because sometimes when you're creating story maps, you use links, and the links sometimes are not updated, or stories require updating. And when you do this, you can see which ones would require updating. And then you can go into your story map and fix those links or any other issues that might appear. Okay, so now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the story map applications in K-12. I mentioned before, with students, they can use story maps to present findings or results of the class project or assignment. This is one way they can use story maps. For teachers, they can create a resource for students to use. So just like the Atlantic fisheries example, that was an activity that our group created as something that applies to Atlantic Canada. That topic was something that we thought was important, and we created this resource. So teachers can do the same. So if a teacher is teaching the same grade every year and they want to create something that they need to cover, like Canadian geography, they can put together a resource in the form of a story map. They can also put together class units. So say they're doing something on landforms, they can use that. They can use a template in the story map to create a unit about landforms. They can also highlight student projects. So for example, if the whole class is doing a project on something specific, so for history teachers, perhaps it's something like highlighting the life of a soldier. So each student, or maybe a group of students or a pair, select a soldier to focus on. At the end, can highlight all their maps in one story map. So every slide would be a slide of a different soldier and would have that information about each soldier as well. So those are some ways that teachers and students can use story maps. In addition, teachers and students can use existing story maps as resources. in their class. So in ArcGIS Online and StoryMaps, you'll often, when you're exploring, you'll often see current events that occurred, and there'll be a web map or a story map or application about it. And so it's a great way to bring in, you know, things that are going on in the world and discuss it. And you can also assign homework with questions included. So one teacher in Canada did that with this climate migrant story map. So I'm just going to click on that. I can show you. So because of climate change, a lot of people are losing their homes and are forced to leave. And so this story map highlights that big issue here and highlighting different areas of the world where this is happening. So this teacher looked through the story map and created a list of questions for her students to answer. I can also click on the tabs at the top here to go to specific areas instead of scrolling down. So now I'm going to demonstrate how you can create a story map. So the first thing is, if you have a web map that's created already, you can access it through your content area, or you can go to Map to create your web map. So as I mentioned before, so the first step, creating your outline. So at this point, I've created my outline. I have my images and my links. And now I'm on step 2, where I want to create my web map. So I've gone to my map area. This is the map viewer, and I will add in my layers and all the features that I want, and I will save it and then share it. So I have something I already created in my content area. So anything you create in ArcGIS Online gets saved to this area. So what I'll do is I will open this one first. And I have my locations for the historic Acadian settlements in Canada. So each location has a pop-up with information about that settlement. And I've saved this map, so now I'm ready to share it. So right now it's shared to just the organization. I'm going to leave it like that. So just like sharing any other content within StoryMaps or ArcGIS Online, you have the option of sharing with everyone. You have an option of sharing it just to your organization, which is the Nova Scotia Schools organization. And then there's also groups that you can create to share the map to as well. Then I'm going to click on Create a Web App. And this is where you have all these different web apps that you can use, right? So a web app essentially is a wrapper around your web map. So it creates a different product. And in this case, I'm going to be building a story map. So I click on Build a Story Map, and I will select Story Map Journal. And I can preview it, or I can just click on the Create Web App. So I'm going to do that. And I have to, in ArcGIS Online, anything that I save, I have to put a title in here. I have to put in the tag, allowing me to use these keywords to find and for other people to find my content if I share that. And then you can see here, you can add a summary as well, and then you can also save this to a specific folder. And by default, your app, which is this story map, will be saved the same way your web map is. Okay, so I click Done, and now it's going to open this wizard here. And I'm going to select the default side panel. And if I choose to change it to the floating panel, I can do that later. And I'm going to click on Start. And I can leave the title as is, or I can change that and click on the arrow. And now I'm going to be prompted to add in the main section, which is the larger area of your story map in this map journal. And this is where you can add a map, you can add an image, you can add a video or a web page. So I'm going to add a map, and if you had a map open, it will be the first selection there. I can also go to select a map and search for another map. You can create a map here as well, but going back to that workflow, I think this is a better, it's more organized when you do the workflow of doing your outline and then creating your map and then configuring your story map. So I'm going to select that Nova Scotia demo map that I had open. I'm going to click on the custom configuration so I can select how I want the map to look when the slide is saved. So I can zoom in if I want, I can zoom out. This is an interactive map, and I'm going to save that map location. I can also, if I have different layers of information, I can add that in there if I wanted to. So I just want this one here, so I'm going to save that. I can configure the pop-up, so that means that I can have a pop-up open when I have the slide saved, but I don't want that. So I'm going to just save that. And I can also add in the map, the overview map, and a legend. The next thing is adding your content to the side panel. So this is where you can add text. If this is the first slide, you might want to add information about this particular story map. And then you can also change the font size, you can bold it, and make other changes like color, alignment. You can also hyperlink websites. You can add images in here, so you can insert you can upload it from your computer, from Flickr, or from a link. Video can be one of these options as well. You can include a web page in here as well. And then there's an option to do story action. So as you can see, I've just selected Canada here in my text, and these things have appeared as options. So I can change this main stage content, so I can click on that, and so if somebody clicks on Canada, it can go to a map of Canada. So I can do that, or an image, or a video, or a web page. There's also the option of a location. So I can have it so it goes to a map of Canada here, location. And there's also navigating to a different section of the story map. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do within this particular template, which is the map journal. And we highly recommend the map journal because it's very easy to use, and you can do a lot of things without having to code. You can also add bullets and numbers. Okay, so I'm going to add that. The next thing I'll do is add another section, and in this I have to put a title, and I can add another map in here. So I'm going to select one, so I will add in this one here. I can custom configure this. And actually, I'll move this here. And then I can leave the rest of the default. Add some information here. And then I can save that. And remember that this doesn't auto-save. This has to be clicked often. I would recommend that. And then you can also organize your slides as well here. So if you want to move them around, you can do that. The first slide is the only one that cannot be moved. which is the home section. Okay, so there are settings here that you can explore. So as I mentioned before, you can change it to a floating panel if you want to. You can change the layout options, the color, the font, and a header. So if a student is creating something for like a project, if they want, they can put their school logo in there or something else. And you can also have it so that the StoryMaps link goes, like the link when you click on StoryMaps at the top goes somewhere else. And you can uncheck the social media links here. And then I made those changes. I have to click on Save. If I want to share, if I want to change the share options here, I can click on Share. Right now it's to the organization. I can click on Public or Private, and I can close that. I can also view the story map to see what it looks like. And then go back here to make the changes. Okay, so there's some links here for StoryMaps inspiration. And starting with the first website, the StoryMaps website, and then some other links that are specific. So the second one is a specific group that we created, StoryMaps for Education. So we've put together a group here with specific ones that we've created for education. And there's a couple of French ones here too. There's also some fun galleries that you can explore, and also this Living Atlas StoryMaps from the StoryMaps gallery. These are really interesting ones. I think I showed you the first one, is the land, and there's some other ones in here. Okay, there's also resources. So if you go to the StoryMaps website, you can find some really great resources, including tutorials and some tips. I'm going to go to that. So this is the website here. So this is the main page, and I can go to Apps to explore the different types of templates. There's even a gallery you can look at. Let's look at the map journal one. Where is that one? Cascade. So we can see the gallery of different map journals in here. We can also search in here and look for ones that are specific to Canada. And on the left side, you can see that there's story maps by subject, by industry, and format, and the author as well. In addition, there's resources. So there's information here that you can explore, like the 5 principles of effective storytelling. Also a blog post. I guess someone put me on hold here. Hence the sound. And there's some other links here as well. So there's some story map lessons. You can click on that and have a look. And this is from the Learn ArcGIS site. And there's some lessons that you can go through to explore in StoryMaps. Okay, thank you so much for attending the webinar. You can find free resources at k12.esri.ca. You can connect with us at k12@esri.ca, and you can follow us on Twitter at GIS for Teachers.